Howdy, and welcome back to another episode of the Texas Private School Podcast. I think this is now season 2, episode 5 or 6, somewhere around there. But we have a lot of information to cover as we missed a week last week, so there's going to be no shortage of things to talk about here. I'll go to Walker Lott first in College Station. Walker, how have you been? How would you think of all the games that we had the past 2 weeks?
Yeah, I'm in a little under the weather the past week, so apologize for not having last week's episode. But I mean, I literally I hope maybe I'll put the video in there, but I literally had 5 games in front of me on Friday night watching them all. When I was sick, might as well just watch football. That's the best thing to do. So I watch a lot of games, watch a lot of football so I can talk about them all. But nothing better than watching high school football last week. So.
Without a doubt. Ryan Schroeder, newly 20-year-old Ryan Schroeder, if I'm correct, is in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Ryan, first of all, happy late birthday from everyone here. And second, just how was the past week from a personal standpoint, from a football standpoint?
20th birthday was great. Honestly, I love now feeling older and older, and I'm finally in my 3rd decade of life. I've joined y'all in the 3rd decade of life, so I'm pretty proud of that. And yeah, like we'll get to later, my pick record is still number 1. No one's touching me at this point. So that's all I gotta say. Just know that I am the most knowledgeable Texas private school football guy out there. Let's let that be known right now.
Just for the fact of you being very fresh off of a birthday, I'll give you that as of now, but I want it very clear. I am creeping up ever so slightly, and I've gotten a lot closer than I was. But as you can notice, I am wearing a full suit. As you can tell, I have the pants on too. I'll just let y'all trust me on that. Me and Ryan made a bet in the past week. If you didn't see that on Twitter, obviously both of the teams were alumni of Grace and Legacy Christian played. We just made a bet that the loser would have to wear a full suit on the next episode, and Legacy won by 1. Even though I tried to tell you over and over again Legacy was going to win, you didn't believe me. But I mean, I decided to put a little bit of faith in my alma mater, and they absolutely screwed me. So shout out Grace, I really appreciate it. But we'll get into more of that later when we recap games. We'll actually look at the pick record real quick that Ryan just mentioned. Sadly, yet again, Ryan is atop the leaderboard, 11-3 last week, 55-15 overall. You already gloated a little bit, so you forfeited your right to talk about your pick record up to this point. I follow fresh on your heels at another 11-3 week, going 51-19 overall. Walker is 10-4 at the bottom, 49-21 overall. Walker, really quickly, you think you have any chance to claw your way back into this one, or you just think there's no hope?
You see, I'm making it interesting. I'm sorry for, picking kind of the bold ones, kind of being bold, That's what the problem with me, I guess, is I'm just trying to make things interesting. And I should have picked especially last week, I had a lot of games where I picked Liberty over Nolan, and I picked someone else, picked Millen over Parrish. And those 2 games cost me big time. And I don't know why I did that. I should have stuck with the state champions and all that. But it is what it is. And I should have totally not picked my alma mater last week. That was a big mistake on my part, but I just had faith in my guys, but they let me down again. 2 weeks of picking my alma mater as well, that both worked out negatively. So
wait, no way. My alma mater was the only one to win this weekend?
It was.
Let's go.
I told you it would be, and you didn't even believe me.
Let's go. Come on.
I mean, it is what it is. Football is a funny game. And also, Walker, a lot of these favorites are actually favorites for a reason. So sometimes it pays to bet chalk. But before we get into our Players of the Week segment, as you can already probably tell, my voice is going out rapidly. I apologize. You have to listen to me in this state. But if it goes out at any point in the episode, we'll improvise and we'll figure it out. But moving on into Players of the Week, just an absolutely ridiculous stat line yet again, coming from none other than Six Man Football. The Texas Private School Podcast Offensive Player of the Week is Whit Jewett from Fort Worth Covenant Classical, right in Walker's hometown. The man had just all of these numbers are insane, so brace yourself. 17 receptions, 509 yards, and 9 touchdowns, and they still lost. I don't know how that's even physically possible. Just being a receiver myself, I don't know. It's hard enough to get 9 touchdowns in a season, let alone one freaking game. Walker, I'll turn to you first. How does this even happen, and how do you lose a game with someone having the stat line?
Yeah, the final score was, if anyone hasn't seen it, it's insane. 119 to 112. That's literally 6-man in a nutshell. Like, that is peak 6-man football, and you gotta love it. And yeah, just shout out to this kid, man. Just absolute baller of a game. But I mean, what is that? 7? Hey, one more touchdown they could have had, but they just gave it up. So
No, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Go on.
My question is, points, time. There's time. The game has a time limit. Like, you have to explain to me that every play wasn't just, oh, we're gonna bomb it down the field, and they just threw a 100-yard pass to Whit Jewett from the 1-yard line every single time. That's probably something of what had to happen. There's no way any other thing in my mind could have, allowed for, what is that, 230 points in a football game?
yeah, 231. And I'm looking through the tweets. Someone has said that is only 3rd on their all-time list of 6-man scores, combined points. That's gotta love 6-man football, man.
It's just football in its purest form. It's the beautiful game. But I mean, that is just, I think I said this like 3 times already, which shows you how crazy of a year this has been. That's a stat line I legitimately don't know if you ever see again. That is just absolutely insane. 6-man football, I'll go to my grave saying, is the best and the most pure form of football. It's beautiful. But I mean, shout out Whit Jewett, just an absolute beast of a game.
Yeah. So how many fantasy points is that right there? Let's count this up. You got
my math is bad.
Yeah. So 50. You get 50. You get it's a PPR. So 67, and then 67 plus 63. Or no, sorry, 54. Yeah, that's over 100 fantasy points right there. By the way, so give yourself a day, Whit.
I mean, over bettors in that game were also rejoicing, but that's a story for another time. But shout out Whit Jewett, crazy game. You love to see it. Now transitioning into defense, another crazy stat line. In the Texas Private School Podcast Defensive Player of the Week is Caleb Van Zant from Dallas St. Mark's with 4 tackles, and here's what got him it: 3 interceptions and a pick 6. We've already had like a couple guys before have 3 interceptions in a game, which just tells you, like I've been mentioning, how crazy of a season this is, because you do not see this a lot. 3 picks in a game and adding a defensive touchdown in the form of a pick 6 to that is just, it's crazy. I mean, it's stuff you don't see a lot and stuff that has to be highlighted when you see it. I don't care what it's going up against. I saw 3 picks and a pick 6, and I immediately knew this guy had to be player of the week. So Walker, you first. What did you think of Van Zant's performance in this game?
I mean, I think we said it a couple of weeks ago, but when you have a guy that talented and just on fire, where a guy who's just locking that kid down, like you shouldn't even throw it his way anymore the rest of the game, because he'll just make you pay. And that's what he did all night for this team. So
100%. Ryan, Caleb Van Zant, 3 interceptions, pick 6. Your thoughts?
Yeah, that's basically what y'all said. It's like 3 interceptions. That's really hard to do. Like that's knowing where the pass is going to come is not as easy as you think.
No, it's definitely not. And someone that played in the secondary, I can hardly fathom how you can get 3 picks in a game, but it's incredibly impressive. Caleb Van Zant, keep that kid on your watch list for the rest of the season from Dallas St. Mark's. But now we transition into discussing last week's matchups that we had. These were our games of the week last week that we didn't get to preview because we didn't have an episode, but we'll review them since we have the time to now. Starting off with Grapevine Faith versus San Antonio Holy Cross. This game was actually played at Mary Hardin Baylor. And, Faith absolutely rolls to a 42-0 victory here against Holy Cross. Honestly, I thought that Faith would win the game. They've been rolling all year. Holy Cross isn't a bad team by any standards, but they're a D3 team and Faith is D2. And it just logic there tells you that Faith is going to have the edge. However, I thought this would be around a 21-point victory, certainly not a 42-point dog walk like we saw Friday. Junior quarterback Chase Cross really appears to be coming into his own here as the driver of this Faith offense. And I'll ask, is it time to consider Faith as one of the top contenders in Division II? That's not something we've discussed really before. You always hear the normal names we bring up, like DC, Regents, teams like that. We haven't talked about Faith a lot as someone that could play into that role. So Walker, I'll turn to you first. I mean, first, just recap what you saw from the game, then answer that question. Is it time to consider Faith one of the top contenders in Division II?
I think like you said, looking into Chase Cross a little bit, I think Chase Cross has kind of cemented himself maybe as the better Cross brother out of the two in that Division II, District 1. But they're a good team. CJ Wilson, their head coach, has done a really good job preparing them each and every week, and kind of just submitted himself against another big powerhouse in Division 3. Looking to your question, I would say, yeah, I think they have to be at least in that conversation. I still think, it's like DC and Regents, and I think they're the top of the top. But I think you have SES, you have Grapevine Faith, you have Second Baptist in the bottom. And I think those are the next tier right under that top tier in Division 2. So maybe not top contenders, but they have to be for sure mentioned up there.
Yeah, without a doubt. And looking at their schedule, I think there is a very good chance that Faith goes undefeated in district play. I mean, you look, they got Southwest Christian. As of now, I think that's a game that they win. You have Coram Deo. I think they win that. I don't think it's a big argument. They have Legacy. They'll beat Legacy. Sorry, Ryan. And you have Fort Worth Christian, and they'll probably do terrible, terrible, inhumane things to Fort Worth Christian as well. So, just looking at that, I don't want to put the announcer's jinx on this Grapevine team, but I think I'm kind of answering my own question. I think it is time to legitimately consider Faith as a team that could make it all the way to state. I don't think prior to everything to go against everything I've said prior, I don't think it's necessarily just Dallas Christian without a second thought. But Ryan, I'll hand it to you there. Do you think that this Faith team is a team that we can not be surprised if they win the North and make it to state?
Yeah, I mean, I really do think that this team is really solid in general. Like I have no doubt in my mind that this team couldn't be one of the ones to put up something against DC. I mean, we've seen now that DC is become a little bit more human here and has taken a little bit of a turn from how they normally go. But I mean, you look through this right now. Josh Terrell got his Kentucky offer, which was insane. You got another wide receiver with David Anderson getting an offer from Howard Payne. I mean, their team is looking very, very good, and it shows off by the fact that they're getting college offers. And I think that is very important to see. Obviously, Chase is still a junior, so he may not be getting his offers yet. But I mean, that's it's totally fine. I don't think there's any problem with that. I think there's a lot of guys right now on this Faith team that are going to be playing at the next level. And I think it's about time that we realize that with all this star power on their offense, then, they might as well be good and they might as well roll teams 42-0.
No, 100%. And I think I also made the comment earlier that Division II was stacked. I kind of want to walk that back a little bit. I think D2 as a whole I'd make the argument considerably weaker than it normally is. I think at the top, you have DC, you have Grapevine, Southwest will be good this year. And I know I'm probably forgetting a few teams or Regents, obviously. Regents.
Yeah,
Regents.
And St. Michael's.
And St. Michael's to an extent. Regents just kind of beat them pretty badly. But like outside of those teams I just mentioned, like I'm talking about like traditional powers, like Legacy Christian, Fort Worth Christian. Grace isn't necessarily a power, but they're really bad. Brook Hill, I don't think is going to be very good either. I just think as a whole, the division is going to be down this year, which makes it that much easier for really top heavy good teams like Faith, DC, Regents just to dog walk everyone. But again, I'm getting a little bit in over my head. Again, this is like, we're not even in district play yet for some of these teams. So I'm going to wait and pump the brakes and let that play out a little bit before I go into more speculation. But after all that being said, we move on into our second game to recap. Fort Worth All Saints at Argyle Liberty. And this game ended up in a 41-24 win for Fort Worth All Saints. They were led in the ground in this one by Brett Alfinger with 23 rushes for 153 yards, and get ready for this, 4 touchdowns. In fact, all of All Saints touchdowns came on the ground in this one. As for Liberty, quarterback Jacob Vaughn was a solid 21 for 41 for 214 yards and a couple touchdowns. Both of those were thrown to Brady Janasek, who had 9 grabs for 115 yards. So Walker, as I always do, I'll turn to you. 41-24 win, solid win for All Saints here. Your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, this was one of the games I really paid attention to last week. I had it on my big screen up there on that TV right there and just kind of watched it the entire game. And, like what I saw was, it was a close game for a while, I believe, right? Yeah, they were only down 3 at the half, Liberty was. And it was just a really close game. But then over time, just All Saints kind of pulled out. And I gotta say, if you can run, like Brent Alfinger that's the real deal. He is one of the best backs probably in all of private school, because he can run over people, and no matter what, he kind of just always goes forward with his running. When he's running the ball, he runs the ball well. And I think they can run it behind him, especially with like that offensive line. They lost 2 Bama recruits last year on the offensive line and others, but I mean, they replace him with good guys on that offensive line, led by Charlie Johnson, who's an absolute unit. Shout out Charlie, man. That's my guy. But like, he is a unit over there on that offensive line for those teams. He stands out when he's walking around. You're like, that's why you're coveted. And that's why he's been on all these visits. And on the other, they still have Chris Powell-Freeman, who's one of the best speedy receivers in the state. That's the reason he's getting SEC offers, is because of his speed. And they have him plus Brant, plus on the defensive side of the ball. I really wanted to shout out, Robert Sanders, who had 7 total tackles, 4 sacks, 2 tackles for loss on the night, and also a fumble recovery. I mean, that's just having him. And I also really like Creed Williams on the other side. And those 2 guys create this like tandem on that defensive line that's just scary for opposing tackles. So it's a nightmare for any offensive line to face those 2 guys. They have a good team, man. They're not the best in Division 1, of course, because they kind of got beat last week. But I mean, they're a good, solid team, and they can make some noise in the playoffs if they put it together. Like I always say, if All Saints can put it together, they can make some noise. But sometimes it just doesn't happen that way.
Without a doubt. And we will see as the year plays out if All Saints does in fact put it together. Ryan, 41-24, All Saints beats Argyle in this one. Your thoughts?
Honestly, I'll keep it a little short here, but Argyle, I think the offense has played well. I think Jacob Vaughn's played well. I think their offense in general has put up a lot of great stats: 214 yards, 2 TDs, 9 grabs, 115 yards. That's not a bad stat line at all for a QB and a wide receiver. You just can't let up 41 points. 41 points is a lot of points. And, honestly, I just, if the offense, is doing their part and like trying as hard as they can, defense can't slack on that. And honestly, I know Fort Worth All Saints is a good team, but yeah, Liberty, your defense has got to put it up there if you want to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I think there are 2 definitive tiers in Division 1 this year. And I think that Fort Worth All Saints is in that tier 1 that'll be really competitive in the playoffs and for state championships. I think Liberty is in that second tier. That doesn't mean they're a bad team, but it means I don't think they're going to make a whole lot of noise come playoff time and stuff like that going.
I was literally just going to say this, by the way, and that's not me saying that they're a bad defensive team every day. They held DC to what, 6, 7 points, whatever. They're not a bad team at all. No, their defense is not a bad team at all either. It's just the fact that some games they could have. I'm assuming maybe someone was hurt or something like that, but I mean, like, you just can't let up 41 points. So I know this Liberty team is good. You make sure you got to come out of the locker room every single game with the same energy.
Yeah, and they're also a really risky team. That's one thing I noticed. Like they had a fake punt at like their 40 or something like that, and they get stopped, and they go down and score, and that kind of starts the wrecking ball that happens at the very end of the game. They're a good team, like you said, Ryan. They're just a good team, and they have to put it together to succeed in this Division 1 for sure.
Yeah, no, we'll see. And good thing is there's still a lot of season left for you or for Liberty to iron out who their identity is as a team. So like I always say, we'll see how that plays out as the season goes on. It's the only thing you can do. Moving into game 3, close to Walker's heart, Fort Worth Southwest at Trinity Christian Addison, and TCA rolls Southwest here 33-7 in a game where I had it in the script last week to bet the hot hand in Trinity Christian Addison. You know, they were coming off a ton of momentum off of that shellacking of Dallas Christian the week prior. And this week they were led by senior running back Ben Sorgan with 8 carries for 129 yards and a touchdown. Senior quarterback Camden Williams was an efficient 13 for 18 for 228 yards and a touchdown himself. And seniors Marcus Schumacher and Charlie Frank both went for 100 yards receiving. So, you know, a very, very balanced attack from TCA here, and kind of showing you that they're a team that can kind of do it all front to back. They're very deep. So, Walker, obviously this is a team that beat your alma mater pretty solidly. What thoughts did you have on this game in particular?
Yeah, you know, I want to talk about TCA a little bit here before I'll talk about the game. You know, when I went by TCA before the season started, you know, I always just knew about them, right? They're always a good team up north, and they were always good and they had a lot of talent. But, you know, TCA has always had the guys, they've had the coach come in, kind of revamp this team. And, you know, one of the guys over there said, mark my words, we're going to make some noise here in this year. And I said, all right, I'm excited. I'm going to see it. Let's hear for it. And let's just say they made some noise this year. Beating DC, we didn't get to talk about it last week, but shocked all of us.
Wow.
I mean, just kind of submitted themselves as a team and all of private school to be reckoned with. I mean, they have talent. You know, we talked about them like this last week. You know, they have it's a very good team, and they just shocked everyone this last week. And I kind of should have not went with Southwest Christian. I kind of knew they were going to lose. I kind of just rolled with my guys. And you know, that's just a loss on me for my pick record. But they're a good team, man, and they need to be a force to be reckoned with. You know, they were supposed to be in like an actual district this past year, but they, you know, with rules and regulations, they didn't get in. So they're kind of an independent at the moment, and that's why you don't really hear about them as much. But once they're back in district and they make noise, they're going to be a team to beat, and it's going to be really scary for a lot of teams to come and fight them again. And this week they play your alma mater there, Ryan, and it's not going to be pretty. So yeah, stay tuned for my pick because you kind of already mentioned it. But TCA Addison, a team to be afraid of basically because they're the real deal, and they need to be talked about and they deserve to be recognized. So as well as this game. I mean, we kind of ran into a rough team. We played ESD the week before and lost, and that was just not going to happen. So, I mean, there's not much to talk about. TCA was the better team and kind of just smacked us. I just hope they get it together because with how Faith is looking and how DC is beatable, but they're very, very strong. You have to have your laser focus on for the rest of your weeks. So,
yeah, no, it's definitely starting to get serious in terms of games being played. Ryan, Southwest Christian TCA, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I really won't really talk about a lot of the game because, well, you know, y'all put in a good amount of input on that. But I'm just gonna say, TCA Addison was not that team in high school. I mean, when any of us were in high school, I don't think any of us really thought TCA Addison was a powerhouse, really in any sport. I mean, you know, maybe there was a basketball here and there. Well, we did actually lose to them. Our state championship years that we won in high school in basketball, we actually lost them each year. So let me backtrack on that. But for themselves, they didn't really make a lot of noise, and they weren't making a lot of noise in anything football wise. So really shocking that they're really good now. And maybe it is the new coach, and maybe it is Camden Williams, and maybe it is, you know, Marcus Shoemaker or Schumacher and Charlie Frank. Like, maybe it's these guys that have just come in and shown themselves as their senior year that they're going to make some noise. Like they said to you, Walker, like maybe that's it. So I love TCA Addison being a top dog. I think that's something new, and it's always good to have something new rather than same old, same old. I hate watching Dallas Christian roll every single year, and same for Parrish and Nolan Catholic and all of them just wiping the entire taps. So it's good to see some new teams in there sometimes.
Yeah, no, I always mention Trinity Christian Addison as a team that could play spoiler. That's kind of discounting them just because they're a team that like you never expected them to win these big games, but they win a couple here and there and they'd ruin people's seasons. Like I went back to my senior year, 2018. They went 1-10 and 0-5 in district. Like
No, they were
the reason that we discount this team is because they haven't been good. I mean, I think them beating Dallas Christian was the wake up call for everyone that follows TAPS football to understand, okay, TCA's here and they might be here to stay. So, again, I'm not saying it was a fluke. It could be. I doubt it was because I don't think that kind of thing just happens. But we'll see. TCA is probably going to have a lot more opportunities to cement themselves as someone that is here to contend in TAPS. And honestly, I'm here for it. I'm excited to see if they're really here. I like it when the order gets shaken up a little bit and everyone gets kind of nervous. I'm really excited to see where they go with that. But that's all we go on.
I just wanted to say that new head coach kind of changed this program around, and he's revamped this program to be like they've always had the guys, a lot of those guys who are talented and they've grown up there. They've grown up through the system, and now the coach has now instilled the right program for these guys to win. So,
no, 100%. But we look at Dallas Christian at Fort Bend Christian in what was going to be my super mega ultimate bet your mortgage on it lock of the week. DC beat Fort Bend 35-13. And Fort Bend isn't an elite team by any means. We all know that about them this year. But this was a win DC desperately needed to get their feet back under them after an absolute embarrassment by their standards at the hands of Trinity Christian Addison. It was a solid win for them. Like I mentioned, it was a game that was, I think, going to be very definitive for their season, whether they were going to come out and just completely handle business and get back on track, or were they going to come out, lay an egg again, lose to Fort Bend and get completely derailed? So Walker, I'll go to you first. I know you watched this game as it was happening live. What did you take away from that game? What do you think that says about this DC game being able to be resilient and bounce back from a loss?
Well, I just want to say, firstly, I really like having DFW play Houston teams. I think that's really, really cool. And it kind of gets the vamp of the North and the South and how good each team is. Because I would love like SES would play like Houston Second Baptist next year. I think that would be a great preseason game for both of them. So make that happen. Anyway, it's not the point. It was, DC kind of just, did its thing again, and it kind of submitted themselves as, one of the top dogs, regardless of North or South. And FBCA has a lot of talent, but they still got a long way to go to be close to the top dogs. And they have the talent, and that defense just shuts people down, like you said. It's scary. And I wanted to talk about Jackson Berry, man. We mentioned him in the previous episodes and all of that, of how talented that kid is. But just seeing him out there watching the game, I mean, he was everywhere. He's a nightmare on that defensive front seven, and he's going to be I got scared. As an offensive lineman, I was scared for him. Like he was everywhere. He caused havoc for that offensive line and that offense. He's hard to stop, and it's very. I mean, as a viewer, it's fun to watch him play. So, but yeah, DC, man, keep rolling. They had a stop with that TCA loss, but they keep rolling in the district. So,
no, for sure. I mean, obviously, we all knew we had to pump the brakes a little bit on DC and reassess after that loss to Trinity Christian Addison. But we'll see. I mean, their district is not challenging at all. If any one of their district games is within 35 points, I will be incredibly surprised. So I don't think we're really going to get to hone in on DC until playoffs come back around, but we'll see. Ryan, what did you think about this game and where DC is going as a team?
I think it's just to realize that, loss of TCA Addison is actually, it's more on TCA Addison than it is on Dallas Christian. If I'm being completely honest, it's just like, it's not Dallas Christian not being good. It was more along the lines of, oh wait, TCA is actually good, which is what we just talked about. So I have no doubt that DC is going to go undefeated for the rest of the season. I mean, guys, I'm telling you right now, it's Fort Worth Christian, Bishop Dunn, McKinney Christian, Grace, and Brook Hill. It's over. It's over. They're going to have
Grace.
They're going to. Oh, okay, yeah. Grit's gonna win. But they're gonna go 9-1, and I think that's what you got to realize at this point. So I love the fact that we thought maybe Fort Bend Christian had a chance, but and like you said, I am so for Houston versus DFW. That is so cool. I don't know if y'all remember the little shout out to our boy from Dave Campbell right here, but the what's called where was the Houston versus Dallas like a cover on the book, or
Oh
maybe it was
yeah,
like the flip in whatever thing.
yeah.
That was so cool. Like if you don't know what it looks like, then you can look it up or maybe Walker put it on screen. But it's like it's super super cool, and how they had like the red and the blue and stuff like that. It really showed that like there is a rivalry, and it was Duncanville and
North Shore.
North Shore. So like obviously it wasn't private school, but it was still the idea that there's always a rivalry, no matter what classification, no matter what. There's always a rivalry between the Dallas teams and the Houston teams.
H-Town versus the Triple D, baby. Nothing better.
Yes.
It's just a beautiful natural rivalry between teams that reside in both of those areas. And it's always, like you mentioned, I love seeing Dallas teams play Houston teams. I'm a neutral bystander and in this
Tyler
argument.
kid.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm a kid from Podunk, East Texas. I don't root for one of the big cities.
Yeah.
But no, it's always cool to see hate's not the right word, but the bitter passion between the two cities when they play. And it's always really interesting.
Hate. No hate. No.
I don't know if that's completely true, but that's all we have for DC Fort Bend. Keep an eye on both of those teams moving forward. And now we move into St. Michael's at Austin Regents. And as expected, Regents gets a 49-21 win here in their district opener. For the sake of saving my voice, I'm actually going to pass this off to Walker pretty quickly. I'm going to get a glass of water. So Walker, take this one away, if you will.
Yeah, that was basically the battle of the two Austin teams, the best two Austin teams, St. Michael's and Regents. And Regents still shows that they're the top dogs. And that was kind of the thing of, let's see how much St. Michael's is close to Regents again. And they kind of just showed they're still a farther a bit away. But I really like that St. Michael's team. And if they were not in the same district as Regents, they would be so much more noise in any other district. But they're stuck with them. So that's just how it is. But I really like Carson Crover. He came over from Westlake, the quarterback over there. And I mean, when you say a Westlake quarterback, you automatically already think good, but they have some talent over there. That was I think that was literally my last school I ever visited on my school tour, I think it was 30 schools or whatever. But St. Michael's was a good school, man. And, the coaches over there have a good team. It's just, they're just a little behind. And Regents showed again, while they're still so dominant. Dickey, I believe, like it was really like Dickey went off again. He even scored one on it with his legs by himself. And it was like I had 5 games in front of me, and I would just like kind of switch in between them. And each time I switched back to that Regents game, and it was just another Regents score. So it was just kind of like that's how it was. But very impressed with Regents again. And I think it showed that I think they're still the top dog in D2. And, I know we all say that DC is like that good, but I mean, they beat them. And I think they still show that they're still the top dogs no matter what. And I think they need to be known maybe as, hey, we're the real deal still. So, but yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. Ryan, your thoughts on this game between the two best private schools in Austin?
I like this rivalry. I think it's really, really cool. I don't think there's a lot others like it. I mean, think about it. You have the Dallas rivalries, you have the Houston rivalries, you have the Austin rivalries. This is the Austin private school rivalry. There's not another one in what's it called in Division I. It's specific to Division II, and I love that. So yeah, but I mean, Regents is going to run. They're going to run with it. They're going to take it back, and I'm not going to solidify anybody in the northern side of anything. But when it comes to the southern side of D2, I'm calling it right now. You can don't what's it called? Don't put pin on there. Just pencil in Austin Regents in that final spot going into the championship game. I think that's what I got to realize at this point is I think Austin Regents has got that D2 spot for the championship out of the South Division.
No, you write. I'll say it for you. You write that in pen for me at least. I needed to see if they would get it done against St. Michael's, and they did. I mean, honestly, tell me who's beating granted, fluke things can happen, but at this point in the season, tell me who's beating Regents in the South region to block them to state. St. Michael's probably isn't. Fort Bend isn't. I mean, Walker, can you think of anyone that could do it right now?
That semifinal matchup of them versus Second Baptist is going to be interesting again. But
that's a good point.
I think it's going to be like it always is. It always is. Regents beats St. Michael's in the semifinals or something like that, or Second Baptist has to beat them, and then Regents has to play. Yeah, it's always those four teams basically out of the South, and I think it'll be closer, but I think Regents is still going to pull it off. But that's down the road.
Pencil. That's my pencil. That's my pencil. Second Baptist is the only retion why it's a pencil, in my opinion.
I'll be completely honest. I completely forgot about Second Baptist in that equation. I kind of want to retract my bold statement. Maybe not pen. I'm writing with a pretty heavy-handed pencil, but Second Baptist in my rearview mirror kind of scares me about that. But we'll see. That'll actually be really fun to see how that plays out. But barring any more discussion from us on St. Michael and Austin Regents, that wraps up our past 5 games of the week. And now we hit in kind of a transition segment, other news that we've done before we get to our top 5 next games of the week. And starting off, we brought up a couple weeks ago, is it time to hit the panic button for Fort Worth Christian? Well, I'll answer that. It is indeed time to hit that panic button. I mean, the Cardinals start 0 for 4, just with 73 points 4 through 4 games, 135 points allowed. And losing to Brook Hill is just kind of, the kiss of death for them. Not saying Brook Hill's a bad team, but Fort Worth Christian, I mean, with the athletes they have relative to Brook Hill, 100% should have beat them. So, I mean, I don't know when the last time that Fort Worth Christian started 0-4 was. I don't recall it ever happening. But, I mean, this is completely unprecedented for them. Walker, you first. I mean, why do you think this is happening to Fort Worth Christian the way it is?
Oh, man,
it's a loaded question, but
it is because, what was interesting last week against Brook Hill, they went back. I don't know if he was hurt or what happened, but they ran with the guy who we all thought was going to start at quarterback in Trevor Andrews. And I mean, he did pretty good, 17 of 28, 258 and 2 TDs. And it's interesting because it's not like they have a bad game offensively. Like Jackson Brownlow got 4 receptions for 100 yards and a touchdown. Jacob Trimble, 575 and a touchdown. So they have dudes getting the ball and they're scoring, but they can't just go over that hill and get the dub. And I don't know. They lose to Cypress, which, I mean, okay. Bishop Lynch was a team they were supposed to lose to. ESD was a team they were supposed to lose to. But Cypress and Brook Hill, that should have been some games. There should have been, at least closer. I mean, Brook Hill, they should have won, but, I mean, they couldn't. And then they have to go in and they have to face Dallas Christian this week, and we'll talk about that game later. But, you're going to start really rough. And are you going to beat Legacy? That's in years past, that would have never been a question. But you actually have to think about it. Oh my gosh, are they not going to beat Legacy this year? And I think it just shows where this program is directed. And they've lost a lot of coaches. But the thing about it is they still have talent. It's such a weird concept because they should be winning games, but they're just not pulling out the dubs. And man, it's difficult to say. I don't really know.
I'm going to say it right now, looking at the rest of their schedule, the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games remaining, there is certainly a nightmare scenario where this team goes 0-10. I mean, look at it. They got Legacy, which at this point, that's not a sure win at all. They have Trinity Christian Addison L. They have Southwest L. They have Coram-Deo. Coram-Deo is not good, but neither is Fort Worth this year. So, I mean, we don't know about that. Then we have Grapevine L. So, I mean, at best, 1 or 2 wins. I mean, I really don't know here.
Talking about that, when was the last time you actually have to think about Fort Worth Christian going 0-10? I mean, it's been years.
No,
I don't think ever, bro. Like this
I'm
is
scrolling through
shocking.
Max Preps, and in 0405 they went 1-6. I mean, that might be. I mean, that might be all we can find.
That's shocking. I mean, that just kind of says where they are as a program. And
Wes, do you see that final score on that last game right there? 0506?
Hang
A
on.
2-0 victory? There's no way that's true.
There's no
There's
way. That's
no
gotta
way
be-
that's true.
Versus First Baptist.
Oh my god.
First Baptist used to be good, man.
Yeah,
Oh,
back
dude,
in
yeah, they
0405, I
did.
would have no idea. I would have no clue.
Just as a sidebar, this is my favorite thing to do is just scroll back through Max Prep's
Yeah.
archives. It's amazing. But go on,
Jesus.
Walker. Finish your point.
I think you really don't need to count this week. Like that, this is a game that you just have to get over with and then move into next week. So you play this game, but the thing about it is it's the rivalry that it's been there since the start of time. You have to compete. You know they're going to be amped up, but you play this game and then you go into district and you pray for district to be. You have a focus for district, but they got work to do. They got work to do over there with that program, and they might be finally the start of the rebuild over there at Fort Worth Christian.
Yeah, no, certainly, and we'll cover that. We'll cover that DC game with them very shortly in our previews. But I mean, Ryan, what do you think about hitting the panic button in Fort Worth Christian?
I mean, this Dallas Christian win, I know we'll talk about it later, but this Dallas Christian win against Fort Worth could literally be a 70-0 blowout. Like it could be horrible. And then I like to make an announcement.
It is a rivalry game, though. Crazy things happen.
Yep.
True. I would like to make an announcement, though. I will be attending Fort Worth Christian versus Legacy Christian Academy, and I will be there in the flesh in Frisco, Texas at that game. So let it be known with me with my little camera on the sideline. I'm going to talk some trash to the Fort. No, I will not. I will not do that. But no, I seriously though, I will be at that game. I'm coming home to Texas to say hi to everybody. We have a bye week here at Oklahoma State, so I get to go home. And yeah, I'm going to see this game. And I actually am, for once, excited to go see a Legacy game this year because who knows? Who knows what this game will be at all? Like, this game is going to be interesting. This may be a 0-5 Fort Worth Christian versus a 1-4 Legacy Christian Academy. Like, I am excited to see this. And I honestly don't know what's going to come of it, you know? So, you know what? Put me down for one of the best matchups in TAPS this year against Fort Worth Christian and Legacy Christian Academy.
No, it'll be incredibly interesting. But that's all we have to say about the Fort Worth Christian panic button. And something I'll jump into really quickly that hits close to home. I mean, just the absolute fall of the Tyler private schools. Tyler, obviously being where I'm from. There's four teams. There's four teams that kind of make up the matrix of private schools in Tyler, being Grace Community, Bullard Brook Hill, All Saints Episcopal, and Bishop T.K. Gorman. And Grace, actually, all these teams used to be in the same district, and that was just pandemonium. I mean, it was fun. Rivalries were high. All Saints was always kind of trash. But Grace, Brook Hill, and Gorman were always somewhat competitive, although I think I never lost to Gorman in high school, and I only lost to Brook Hill once. So there's that. But I mean, just
glad you had to put that in there real quick.
I will mention that every time I get the chance to. We went like 13-1 against Tyler schools when I was in high school. Go on.
I have to ask, where is Gorman and All Saints now? Are they still in?
No, Gorman and All Saints are both in the same division. I think they are both like D3. D3 or D4 now.
Okay.
I mean, it's just, and the thing is, you haven't heard of them because they're horrible now.
I know, that's what I was gonna ask. I literally have not even heard of those teams since high school, like sophomore year of high school.
No, I know both of y'all at least heard of at least Brook Hill and Gorman because they were big factors all the way through our senior year. I mean, they were in our district in D2. All of them were competitive, and everyone has just completely fallen off. Grace is 1-4 this year, and just straight up, it doesn't look like it's in a great place. There's internal things going on there. I really disagreed with the firing of Coach Norm Thompson, but that's neither here nor there. It's not something I can discuss here. Brook Hill's 4-1. I think that's kind of a fake 4-1. I'm not getting on Brook Hill, but I don't think I think district will be an interesting wake-up call for them. All Saints is 1-2 in their district. Gorman is just absolute dog water at 0-4. I mean, they've been outscored 172 to nothing through 4 games. And it really, really just makes me sad to see this, because these teams at one point were all so competitive with each other, and it's completely unraveled at the seams. And honestly, I don't think we'll ever get back to a point where all these 4 Tyler teams are at that competitive level again. I think there's hope for go on.
I was going to ask, do you think it's because people are staying in the public schools over there in Tyler, or are they transferring out? Like, what's the deal, you think?
A little bit. I think Tyler Legacy is becoming day and day more of a alluring option, because they built a new school. There's new athletic facilities there. But you can say that for like Gorman in 2018 built this multi-million-dollar gigantic athletic facility. The problem is, and again, there's a lot of politics involved in this, and I got to watch where I step. There is a lot of internal garbage going on at Gorman that I know will eat that school alive from the inside out. So that's why I say, I think there is hope for Grace and Brook Hill to make it back out of this. Brook Hill, I don't think will ever fall down very far. Grace is teetering on the edge. All Saints, there's a 50-50 chance they get good again. And I honestly don't think they will. But I mean, I'm not going to ask either of y'all for really in-depth comments, because there's no reason for y'all to know about exactly a lot of Tyler stuff. But that's just something that hits home close to me. And I don't know, it makes me sad to see these teams fall down the way they have. And I really, really hope we see at one point all these teams get back to where they were. But Walker, I know you have some comments of some guys that you liked this past week. So get into them and bring us up to a little lighter note.
I just wanted to quick mention John Raybuck. I know we talk about him a lot this past couple of weeks, but that 24 running back over at Cormdale, I really like, man. And I just wanted to mention it because he had a great game this last week. 33 carries, 208 yards, 5 touchdowns, and a kickoff return. And he also, on defense, tackle, a quarterback hurry, and a pass breakup. I mean, he's just doing it on both sides of the ball. He's a great athlete over there, and I think he's one of the more underrated guys in Division II. And I think he's going to be like a most come on to the scene type of player for Division II this year. And I think he's kind of that leader of that kind of that rise of that program, hopefully in the next couple years. But, like we said before, they have work to do. But that's really it for me. I want to for a couple, I think for next week, we talked about doing rankings, and we'll kind of do that in the future. But I think this is where we would kind of talk about it. But I want to we kind of all discuss, we want at least one more week of district play to see how everyone's pans out. So.
Yeah, I 100% want to get more data on all these teams, get a bigger sample size. Just because I don't think that rankings right now would be necessarily inaccurate. I think waiting another week gives us the best chance to accurately assess where these teams will be. I think both of you agree with that.
We're the CFP, by the way. We come in around right now and we just give out our little update now. But I mean, honestly, I think I totally agree with y'all. We just need a little bit more time, and then you'll know that we are educated about it, and we're actually not just listing random teams, and we're not basing on preseason rankings if that's what we're going to go down that line with. But yeah, we're actually just going to rank these teams how we think they're ranked.
No, I'll be 100% honest. I think as an entity, we are one of the most knowledgeable groups on private school football, and I think genuinely, if you're going to have like a sort of like college football playoff ranking committee, but for private school, I think all three of us 100% have to be on that committee. I mean, I think that's something that would be fun to see with private schools. It's something that we should definitely be called for advice on if it happens. But that's my short shameless plug.
Taps, get us in the CFP.
Hey man, we've done a lot in a short amount of time. It's not crazy to think that something like that could happen. But moving on into the meat and potatoes of the episode, our games of the week. There are 5 of them, as always. And not to discount the games that we have, but a lot of the bigger D1 teams have a bye this week. But I still think there's a lot of games that we can talk about that we can still get a lot of substance from. I'll start with a game that I really, really like. Houston St. Thomas at San Antonio Central Catholic. Both schools come into this game at 4-1. This one should be interesting, straight up. I think these are both solid Division I teams that haven't been tested very hard yet. Central Catholic's only loss with the hands of Alamo Heights, a big public school down in San Antonio. And St. Thomas was narrowly bested by Kincaid at a game that I was at, and who we have made clear is a very solid team. The offenses are both relatively close from a points per game point of view, but Central seems to have the slight defensive advantage, averaging 14 points allowed per game, as opposed to St. Thomas's 23.4. I think everything thus far indicates this game will be a close one, but I'll break Preston actually because I've been picking St. Thomas. I'll pick against them here and go with Central Catholic. I think Army commit Silas Gomez is going to show off with both his arm and his legs here. And straight up, I think he's going to be too much for that St. Thomas defense to handle. Walker, St. Thomas, San Antonio Central Catholic, your thoughts?
I'm going to make it kind of short and quick. I'm going with Central Catholic too. I really like this offensive line. Ben Rios, DeAndre Marshall led those guys. They stayed local and are going to UTSA to play football at the next level. With those two guys at the helm for that offensive line, and you have Raymond Goodry, the other dominant interior offensive line for them, they make up probably the best offensive line in TAPS, just straight up in private school, without a doubt, in my opinion. And then I really like Garrett Davidsmeyer, the running back for them, the 22 back. I really like this team. They have a lot of good talent all over the field. And I think Silas Gomez is one of the best players, especially in San Antonio. And I think that his playmaking ability is just going to lead them over St. Thomas. And I think, like we said, very start of the season too, Central Catholic got dudes, and this might be the year they make noise. And I think this is one of the first wins to show it.
Yeah, without a doubt. We went and interviewed all of those guys we just talked about at Central Catholic. And one of those interviews, it's in the vault. We don't know if it'll ever see the light of day at this point, but we hope it does. But they got some dudes at Central Catholic, and that's the basis for me and Walker going with this pick. So, Ryan, the podcast so far is 2-0 on Central Catholic. You going to make it 3-0, or are we going to go against the grain here?
I'm gonna go 3-0 on this. I got Central Catholic as well. I mean, there's no reason really to go against them. Silas Gomez has made it clear that he is a top level quarterback. I mean, you can even go down the line and you can see that Jonah Dunlap's a good player. Jonah Dunlap's been putting up numbers every game. I mean, he's averaging 84 yards a game on the run. And then also Silas Gomez is throwing bombs to his number one wide receiver, which is Jackson Deason. Jackson Deason right now has 354 yards in the year, averaging about 70 yards a game. He's got 5 TDs already this year on 5 games, averaging a TD per game, which is really, really good. Yeah, I mean, he's got another asset on his team. Silas Gomez has his name is Braden Flowers.
He looks good.
Braden Flowers is also a good player on that team. Has also basically got most of his touchdowns from like basically all the touchdowns Gomez has thrown have gone to hit those two guys. I think it's very clear to see that this team is a very, very, very good team when it comes to, just the offensive side of the ball. I think even if their defense doesn't perform well, I still think they can beat Houston St. Thomas when it comes to just putting up points, even if it is a shootout at all.
Yeah, no, I honestly think that the Central Catholic will win this game with their defense. I think they'll be the first team to really stifle Houston St. Thomas here. So we'll see. I mean, there's a lot that can go on, but I like, just based off numbers, the eye test, and mutual opponents, I like Central Catholic here. Moving on, we have Fort Worth Christian at DC. And honestly, I'm going to tell you, the one reason this game is on our games of the week is because it is a bitter rivalry, and crazy things can happen in rivalry games, as we've all seen. You've all heard the adage, just if it's a rivalry game, throw the records out. It can mean anything. So in terms of the actual prediction, I can only imagine the current state of the Fort Worth Christian football program is that one SpongeBob meme where everything's on fire and there's like 20 little SpongeBobs running around. It's complete chaos. I'm going to be honest. Again, there's a lot of past beef here, and the only reason, like I mentioned, it's on this game is because of the rivalry. But here's what you're going to do. You're going to take your house. You're going to bet it on Dallas Christian. You're going to go and borrow your neighbor's house. You're going to bet that on Dallas Christian. You're going to bet everything in your possession on Dallas Christian here. If you lose your entire livelihood because I told you I'll take full responsibility. Use all my possessions as collateral. There is no way on this planet Dallas Christian loses this game. I don't care if they're playing Fort Worth Christian. I don't care if it's a rivalry game. DC is going to win this game by roughly 175 points. Give me Dallas Christian. Give me all the points you got. It's not going to be close, rivalry or not. There's my rant for the episode, and I think I just shot the rest of my voice I had left. Walker.
My pick will be DC. Ryan.
Yeah, I don't really have a lot more to say than that. But I will give you a score though. I'm going 50-0, and that's a serious score.
They're
That's
50 burger.
No, I'm dead serious. That's a serious score. 50-0 is a serious score for me, and that there's no BS in that. That is a serious score of me putting DC forward Christian 50-0.
I'll go 49-7 and the one late score to Jacob Trimble. That's what I'll go. 49-7.
I just had an intense wave of fear come over me, realizing the 0.75% chance that Fort Worth Christian wins this game. That clip will be taken out and used against me for the rest of my life.
Without a doubt.
Oh no. That stays in. That stays in. I will live and die by that statement. But we'll see.
Your house is going to be used as collateral now too. So you're going to have to.
This is
you're
going to
be homeless.
It's not a legally binding statement.
Do you want to live in Stillwater for a week or two, or
I mean, listen, man. If it comes down to it, I might have to flee the state. So. We'll see. So that's my very, very unpassionate and unbiased prediction on Fort Worth. That actually is unbiased. I don't have any connection to DC, but I just think they're a lot better at football than Fort Worth Christian at the moment.
Well, if anything, you hate DC. If anything, you hate DC.
If anything, I do hate DC. I made this really clear. No one's called me a DC homer, but I pick for them a lot. I hate Dallas Christian. They beat me all in high school. They're just really good at football, and it's hard not to admit that. Moving on, a little bit of D3, D4 action in Pantego Christian at Dallas First Baptist. We see two lower class division powerhouses meet in this one between undefeated Pantego and 3-1 First Baptist. Jason Lavorne and First Baptist are doing First Baptist type things coming into this game, averaging just over 41 points per game. I see what you're highlighting, right? 41 points per game. But somehow Pantego's outdoing them with just over 46 points a game. Yeah, but as for this game, I have to go against my friend, Mr. Lavorne, and take Pantego here. I think both offenses are electric, but Pantego's defense is just too sexy for me not to love them here. I really do think that they will be the first stifling test for this First Baptist offense. I like Pantego Christian in this game. We'll see. Walker, your thoughts?
Sorry. I'm watching this video of this kid from First Baptist. He's a 2026 defensive tackle. And he's doing he is 5'11", 245, and he's doing backflips, and it's really cool.
2026.
2026, what you
2026.
Oh my god.
He's in middle school still.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he came across.
So he's in 8th grade.
Yes. And Jason Lavorne, I was looking at his Twitter and he retweeted it, and I was just dumbfounded by this kid. Just very athletic for this kid. Shout out him. I'm gonna put it in the video. It's elite. That's just elite.
We need to know if he's playing up. We need to know if he's playing on the team.
Maybe.
I don't think
that's allowed, first of all.
Taps is the Wild West. They probably can.
First Baptist long ago was in a Division II, Division I team, and they just slowly over time just had to grow smaller and smaller. But they have some young talent on the team. But like you said, I think I'm gonna go Pantego on this one. But don't get it twisted. I think First Baptist has some young talents, some 25s, 24s that are some young talent that can help them in the future, but they're just a young team right now. But with losing Josue Preza and Josh Little, like we said last year, who I really, really liked, and we got the chance to interview, those two guys and some other seniors left, but they still got some guys there, and they got some things for the future. But give me Pantego.
Yeah, no, it's hard losing those two kids, and we'll see if First Baptist brings back enough for them to be competitive in this game. Ryan, we've all picked chalk up to this point. Will you continue the trend?
Yeah, I got Pantego. I mean, I don't know how you could root against. First off, let me make this very clear. You called a football team sexy.
I called a defense. I call a defense, which is a concept, sexy. It's completely different.
Okay, also remember this is a private Christian school podcast. We have to make it very clear. Yeah, no, I'm not picking against Pantego. I mean, they're 5-0 coming into this game. They've won by 35-18, 42-0, 62-20, 43-0, 49-3. I mean, why would you pick against this team right now at all, by the way? Also, they went undefeated last season, went into their playoffs, ended up losing really, really close to Trinity Christian Lubbock. I have no reason right now to think otherwise that they wouldn't be a good team this year. And I just, yeah, I know. If that 8th grader is playing for First Baptist, please just change that entire pick, because that 8th grader that's doing backflips must be doing work.
Like there's some young guys looking into him. Caleb Mitchell is one to watch. 2025 wide receiver, 6'3", 165. They have a quarterback as well. What's his name?
He's 15 and he's 6'3", 165. Also, that's super skinny, by the way. Holy crap. He's like a twig.
Yeah, there's another 25 quarterback they got over there who in his first game, 12 of 16, 159 and 3 passing touchdowns. So I mean, they got some guys over there, some young guys, but I think it's just gonna take some time.
It'll be interesting to see how First Baptist develops as the years go on, because I mean, if they do have that much young talent, I know the coaching is there. So it'll be interesting to see if they can actually develop and start to take over D3. And if they get kids, maybe move back up.
Yep.
But now we move into Ryan's territory, where we see Frisco Legacy play Trinity Christian at the Star. Ryan, I'm actually going to let you just say whatever you want to say and you have from the past here. So I'm going to let you take this one away first.
So I love this game every single year. I think, or actually, we'll take it back just a little bit. I won't spend too long on this, but back in the day, it was not against TCA. When I was in high school, this game was not against Trinity Christian Addison. It was against Prince of Peace Christian School, and it was called the Eagle Bowl, or whatever you want to call it. You want a statue of an eagle after the game, because apparently everybody in private school wanted to be the Eagles. As you can tell, Walker's mascot was an eagle as well. Everybody wanted to be the Eagles. So in all reality, we had this called the Eagle Bowl, and I'm pretty sure Legacy never lost, ever. They never lost at the Star, and we won last year too. We have not lost in the Star yet since we've been playing there.
Trash.
What?
Prince of Peace was trash.
No, and TCA last year. Keep that in mind, by the way. Legacy Christian Academy beat TCA in the Star last year. So let that be known. However, I have to say that is going to be the exact opposite of what happens this year. I think TCA is going to roll them. So I hope my brother Jake has a great time on the sideline like I did my senior year of doing this. It was such a fun time. I made such a cool video. If anything, I wonder if I can send that to you, because I want to play just a little bit of it, because it's probably my favorite video I've ever made of all time for high school football. And it was a lot of fun, and I still have such good memories from that game. So, but I really do think it could be another DC Fort Worth type of thing right here. I mean, this game could be a 40-0 thing, or a 46 thing, or whatever. Like, I just, I honestly, I would love to believe in Legacy again, but I'm not picking you until next week, when I'll pick you against Fort Worth Christian. Right now, I got TCA by 40 or 50, and I hope my brother has a good time trying to record whatever he can of Legacy doing random warm-up stuff, so he gets enough content for the video, because they probably won't be scoring any touchdowns. Also wanted to say a couple of different things. Legacy will be having their starting athlete out, if you want to call him that. He plays every single position. His name is Trace Harris. He's a junior, and he ended up going off in an ambulance last game, so he is not going to be playing, I'm assuming, this next game. And he is a big asset to this team. He was throughout my entire years, he was going to play, quarterback. He never ended up playing quarterback. His mom told me when I was announcing 7th and 8th grade football that I kept calling him by the wrong name, because it was supposed to be Trace instead of Trez. So I'm sorry. It's spelled Tres. So sorry, Trace. But anyways, all I have to say is I think Legacy, I think we just look past this one. I think we just focus on Fort Worth Christian after that.
Walker, Legacy versus TCA at the Star. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm gonna go TCA. They killed my Eagles last week, and they're gonna kill these Eagles this week. I mean, that's point blank simple. That's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah, man. I mean, don't overthink this one, folks. TCA is through and through the better team here, and just not picking them would be foolish. I mean, I'd say sorry, Ryan, but you seem to understand that as well. It's no knock on Legacy. It's just TCA is really, really good this year.
I want to say this as well. I never even talked about me picking Grace over Legacy. I didn't even talk about that. I just want to make it very clear. I should also be wearing a suit right now. I don't know why I'm not. I picked against my alma mater and they won. So yeah, I'm very sorry to all Legacy fans, but I mean, it just, in all reality, if this game is also a blowout, then that was a fluke, and I'm sorry. I mean, I have to wait till I need to wait till a Fort Worth Christian win, and then I'll put that nice shiny suit on.
Hey man, I tried to tell you y'all would beat us, but you just wouldn't listen. Even though I picked Grace, I don't really know how that works. Anyways,
yeah, Walker picked Grace too, so I mean we're all just in the gutter.
It was the kiss of death. But moving into the final game of the episode, a game that is actually kind of close to me personally, Weatherford at Covenant Christian. And like I mentioned, I absolutely love this game for personal reasons. I've mentioned my love for six-man football time and time again on this show. And I actually watched Weatherford back in the 2018 season when they were the runner-up for the six-man state championships. They played my friend's team, ETCA. They beat them 58-0, like every other team beat ETCA, but that's neither here nor there. They're going to be really mad at me when they watch this. But all that to say, now Weatherford's up playing big boy football, and they're doing a daggum good job of it too, coming in at 3-1 on the season. However, they unfortunately run into the human buzzsaw that is Christian Wells, Enau Etta, and the rest of the Cougars, which I honestly just think are a better team at this point. I don't know how Weatherford is thinking of stopping Etta, but they better figure that out quickly or it could get ugly. Give me Covenant in this one, but I'm I'm hoping Weatherford pulls this out regardless of what it does to my pick record. But, on the record, I think Covenant will win. Walker, you first. Weatherford at Covenant Christian.
Weatherford's actually close to my home. I'm like probably 15, 20 minutes, probably like 30 actually outside of Weatherford. So like they're kind of my hometown team, but also I'm probably 30 minutes out of Covenant. So like, it's either pick your poison of what direction you want. But you see, I wanted to maybe kind of go bold and go Weatherford, but I've been too bold the past couple of weeks, and I'm just going to be logical for the first time in a while. I'm just going to go Covenant. I think Covenant's a good choice here. I think they're the better team. Ride with Enau. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Ryan, I've just now realized that we have all picked the exact same teams for every game up till now. I'm going to assume you're going to continue that trend here, but we'll see. What are you thinking? Are you going to surprise us?
So let me talk a little bit first. I'm gonna talk this first.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say Covenant Christian here. I'm sorry I had all very everybody's hopes up, but yeah, I got Covenant Christian. I'm sorry. I was looking at a team that played Aledo, and I was getting a little bit of hope, but yeah, no, not anymore. Not the Roos. They're the Lions. And they're not the Grapevine Faith Lions.
But yeah, no, I mean, regardless of what it does to my pick record, even though I'm betting Covenant, I'm going to be completely rooting for Weatherford here just because I've watched them come from, I call that district at ETCA and then we're in the gutter. So I've literally watched them come from the gutter up to 11-man football. And I think it'd be really, really cool just to see them start pulling off big wins here and there. And right before we go, I want to ask all of us who has the best student section in Texas private school football? It's a question we teased back in the past. I mean, I know that Central Catholic has made claims for it. I know some other teams have shown good clips. We want to know who has the most passion. We'll ask this on Twitter too, but we know that this is something that schools, take great pride in, is having a crazy, rambunctious student section. So if you think your school does, let us know. If you think another school does, please tell us. It's something we really, really want to learn.
Speaking of that, all you random Barstool accounts for your schools, all y'all hit us up because you are the leaders of your student section. I'm assuming that's kind of who runs those accounts. So I would love for you to even like ramp that up, and we can even have a poll on Twitter as well if we get a couple nominees and stuff like that. Do a little poll on there, and we can make it something pretty cool. So yeah, get those student section little barstool accounts up in there and make sure we're getting as much attention to that as possible because we do want to know who has the best student section out of all private schools.
Without a doubt. I'm excited. I want to see who's the best. Where is the toughest place to play in all of private schools? Let me know.
Yeah. Where's the 12th man? Where is the 12th man?
It's here in College Station, first of all. But
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, let us know. It's gonna be a great time. I'd like to see. Let's get some collaboration among the schools around the state just in time for district play. So yeah, stay tuned. Let us know all that jazz.
But that actually leads us into the conclusion of this episode. That's all that we have. Yet again, as always, please, if you have any takes of your own, comments, concerns, questions, just angry yelling at us for disagreeing, please let it out in the comments. Also, really quick, something that I want to do to reward anyone that's been listening this long. If you can name me the 3 albums of the records that are sitting behind me in order, if you can name that and put them in the comments what they are, I'll Venmo you $5. Literally just put it in the comments and put your Venmo tag and I'll Venmo you, I swear. I know Walker knows what at least 2 of them are. Ryan, just without saying what they are, do you know what they are?
I know what the one on the right is, all the way to the right, and then I don't know the other 2. I know what the one on the right is though.
It'll be interesting.
I think I know the middle one. Is it I'll cut it out or I'll bleep it, but is it?
Yeah, it is. It's an alternate cover that comes with the record.
Right.
But I'll give the people a hint for the middle one. It's widely regarded as the best hip hop album of all time. And I'll go to my grave saying that it is.
Believe me on this one too, but that's what, or I gotta cover my mouth too. Is that?
Yeah, both of them are.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
The records go hard. Exactly. The records go hard. But I mean, barring any additional comments from my fabulous co-hosts, this has been the Texas Private School Podcast. I've been 1/3 of your hosting crew, Wes Tolleson, Walker Lott, and Ryan Schroeder have been themselves. We will see you in the next episode. See you later.